What's going on, guys? Welcome to Entertainment 411111111411111. I'm really good at that. Entertainment 411, guys. Guys, this is the revamped 10 questions. I'm your host, Farid YAZDANI. We're back. We're refreshed. This is your backstage pass. Look at this. It's a brick wall. We're backstage. This is what it looks like. It's bright. It's loud. A couple dogs might walk by and make some noise. If you hear that, that's what backstage is all about. It's rough. It's crazy out there in the streets. I have some wonderful guests for you this evening. And I'm going to introduce them very shortly. But first, I want to tell you what Entertainment 411 is. So this is your backstage pass to all things entertainment. We got casting directors, producers, actors, dancers, the audio guy you worked with last week on Murdoch Mysteries. We got it all. It's all here. All the questions you want, anything you want to ask them, they're all going to be here. And it's our goal to make sure that you guys get the inside scoop of what's happening. Because, you know, a lot of times we go into auditions or we go on set and we don't know what's happening. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what people are actually thinking. And one thing that I found during the pandemic is this was a very, very positive outlet for up-and-coming actors, even veteran actors, producers, writers, to show that we're all human at the end of the day. Everybody has their own problems and their own issues and their own opinions. And feeling that was quite nice, especially on the casting side, because it puts a face behind the name on your audition. You get to actually meet these folks and how amazing they are. So without further ado, why don't we welcome our guests? I'm going to bring them all in. It's a star-studded affair, let me tell you. This is the big hitters. We have Millie Thom, we have Brandy Wells and Andrea Kenyon from Kenyon Wells Casting. We have Iana SMI. I bet you didn't know that's how it's pronounced. Ilona Smyth, guys, as well as Angela Quinn. There's Millie to my right. Hi, Millie.
Hi.
There's Angela. Hello.
Hi.
Everyone's slowly popping in. Where's everybody? Oh, I'm only good for. Oh, there's 5.
Hi.
Hello.
All these gorgeous faces. I love it.
Hello, Randi, Andrea, Millie, Ilona. Okay, you guys are all here. Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you first and foremost for doing this, guys. I really, really do appreciate it. It's good to see some of you guys' faces again. I mean, that's what's going to be part of the kind of conversation. I think the topic would be the fact that we don't see each other's faces as often as we like or as often as we did before. But I'm going to just go around. Why don't we just introduce ourselves? I don't want to give you guys introducing. You guys introduce yourselves to the viewers here. So we'll start with Millie, since you're the first one that popped in. Hello, Millie.
Hi.
Tell us about yourself, Millie.
I'm a casting director based in Toronto. I cast film, television, audiobooks. I've done video games. Yeah, sort of a little bit of everything. I've worked with many of the prolific casting directors in Toronto, RDC Casting, Deirdre Bowen, Brian Levy, John Comerford. So yeah, I've sort of been trained under all of them. I've been doing it for about 20 years now, and chugging along, trying to, the struggle is real.
I'm gonna abolish everyone's resume because everyone's being humble and coy. Millie Thom has casted such shows as Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. You may have heard of that one. The Incredible Hulk. Huh?
I was an assistant, though, associate and assistant. So
doesn't matter.
All the credit for that. That it was.
Doesn't matter. It's still part of it. Hey, I was one episode of The Boys. It's definitely on my resume. Okay, we're gonna move on over to Angela Quinn. Angela, hello.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see all your faces. I am over here on the West Coast. Thank you so much for the invite. Yeah, I've been in the industry for about 30 years in a variety of capacities in front of and behind the camera. And I started focusing primarily on casting about 5-6 years ago. And I have somehow, I don't know how, managed to have been part of the casting team, whether I was a casting director or associate on over 200 projects already. So we keep very, very busy out here. And I think some of my favorite projects are the ones that actually film in my own hometown, that are actually set in my own hometown. And I didn't think that that would ever happen. And it's happened a few times over now. So I'm pretty fortunate, and hopefully it happens more often. So yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. I don't think we've actually met, so it's nice to actually meet you. It's a pleasure. So thanks for coming in. So I'm gonna go and we'll have you guys do it individual, but because you guys are casting partners, we're gonna put you guys together as well. But you know, you guys are splitting between Iana SMI.
I know, I'm just like
all
stuck in
good.
the middle here.
So we'll go in the middle. We'll go with Ilona first, and then we'll go to Brandy Wells and Andrea Kenyon. So Ilona Smyth casted
Hi.
Hallmark movies such as Two for the Win. Might have featured some predominant brown actors you may know or may not. Tell us about yourself, Ilona. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Yeah, I'm a casting director based out of Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. I've been doing this for 20 years. I've cast, over 170 projects. Everything from features to some TV shows to Hallmark, Lifetime, Viacom, Netflix, commercials, music videos, whatever they want to pay me for. I'm here for it. I've been doing this since I was 17 years old, and my mainstay, I've gone out and I've cast movies in Albuquerque and upstate New York and all over the place. And my one motto, I would say, is talent's not geographical. So I stand by that, hard pressed from a regional market.
Love. Thank you for being here. So let's go eeny, meeny, miny. Brandy Wells. Randi, why don't you take it away?
Okay, so I'm Brandy Wells, the Wells half of Kenyon Wells, and I've been doing this for probably about 30 years with my BFF since we're 11 years old, Andrea Kenyon.
Wow.
And we've done quite a bit of projects, been very fortunate, a lot of stuff filming in Montreal. Films, series, been very fortunate with series in the last few years, which has been nice, even through COVID. So, I'm going to pass it on to my cohort.
I'm the other way, or the other. Anyway.
Yeah, I know.
You're here for me.
Well, I just had a huge passion for actors and the whole industry when I was a kid, and my mother said that the only thing I would crawl to was a TV guide. So I think I started really early. And my dad was in the business. He was an acting teacher and a booking agent at a nightclub in Michigan. And that was the beginning of it for me. I was just so passionate about actors. And, through the years, I was very involved in what he was doing and doing theater shows, and he taught actors. So I was always so passionate about watching the process and the actual acting craft. So it was just kind of like a natural outgrowth for me to get into this business. And then as you know, I had my lists when I was 10. I actually had my lists of actors that I liked. And then I met Randi when we were 11, and we certainly did not plan to do this business together at that point. But then many years later, it just worked all out that we were, I was doing I had the agency going already. And then we said, hey, I think this might be interesting for both of us to put our heads to. And as Randi said, we're very, very blessed that things have been going very well for us. Thank God. And, building a bit of a reputation, thank God, a good one.
Absolutely. Yeah. Most definitely, yes. You guys are all well renowned. All of everyone on this panel. When you say these names, majority of the actors, seasoned or even new, they're familiar when they get their audition sides. One of the things I always check is the casting director, just out of curiosity, to see if I've taped for them recently or if I haven't in a long time. And either way, I make sure I do a good job. Quick background on me for those watching. I'm Farid YAZDANI. I'm your host. I'm an actor. And a little bit of a producer. Some credits that I may be known for is Suits, and most recently Moonshine. I did 3 seasons of that in beautiful Nova Scotia. I'm also that brown guy you see on every commercial, so that seems to be, as you say, paying the bills. But as we know, let's just dive right into it. As we know, things have changed. Things have changed since COVID. The casting process has changed, and we've noticed that it's been different for different casting directors. Some do it one way, some do it the other. I'll give you a quick little thoughts. Some do straight Zoom auditions. I've seen where you do an audition live with the casting director, but it's still COVID style. It's still from your home. you know, t-shirt, maybe pants if you want, preferably pants. And some casting directors do self-tapes where you're taping on a ring light, as I'm using here, and, you know, editing yourself, sending it in, hoping for callbacks. So I guess right off the top, what have you guys noticed has changed for the better or for the worst? Is there a thing that you like about the self-tape model, or is there something you don't like about the self-tape model? Pros and cons. Let's just go right into it. Pros and cons. Anyone want to take it away first? I wish I had a buzzer, like a.
I can start.
I'll go first.
Yeah.
I think that what is beneficial for the self-tapes is it's given us an opportunity to see a lot more people, or to get to know a lot more people than we normally are able to, because we're given a certain budget for how many people we can see per role. On the other hand, there is something to be said for missing people live and being able to hug your actor before they come in and when they leave.
You do that?
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are all the way. I've taped for you guys a few times, but it's always been taped because naturally I'm in Toronto.
Well, but you know, if you come in someday, you'll see you get a hug just before you go downstairs for your audition, and when you come back up, if you're lucky.
God, if you're lucky. You think you booked it? I didn't get a bye hug.
I didn't get a hug. I don't know.
I wish I wish to audition in the room for you guys. I'm gonna have to make a trip to Montreal for like 6 months and just hope I get one.
We actually went to Toronto and did a couple of sessions, but at one point, I think the actors were really getting very used to self-taping in general. And like we'd book a bunch of actors, and then a lot of people would like, no, I'm going to self-tape. No, I'm going to self-tape. See, they didn't know they were missing the hugs. That's what happened.
Right?
Get it?
True.
Any of you ladies have any thoughts on the pros and cons? Millie?
Yeah, I do for sure. I think, you know, Randi hit it on the head when we get to see way more people, which is incredible. I think the biggest downfall is when it comes to kids and being able to see kids, because we're not just auditioning the kids, we're also somewhat auditioning their parents. And you know, a kid can send us a self-tape and they could have been practicing it all week, and that takes great. But sometimes kids are auditioning who don't necessarily want to be. And when you ask them to do it a second time, they might just say, I don't feel like it. Or, you know, a lot of truths come out in the room. My mom's made me do this all week. I don't want to do it anymore. And we go, okay, well, know what you're not going to want to do on set. This take 4 or 5 or 6 times, and it's probably not going to be the right fit. So that's kind of been, you know, definitely a downfall. But again, we get to see way more people. But I do miss getting to know the actors and understanding what they're about. And, you know, sometimes too, like what we get hired for isn't just for our eye, but also understanding that, you know, some actors come in and they crush it on set, or we've audited classes and seen them do their work, but some aren't good auditioners. And it's us there to be able to speak to that and say, you know, this might have not been their best time in the room, but trust me, they're really great. And I've seen them do work other places. And also, you know, just really being able to be the voice between the director and the actor, and kind of take that director jargon and bring it down to layman's terms. Or we also see how actors learn, and we're able to explain it to them. And, you know, you get a second voice as someone trying to help you hear the notes and get booked. Because if you guys get booked, guess what? Our jobs are done and we get to go home and hang out with our family, which is really our goal at the end of the day, you know?
Yeah, I find there's that with the actors, there's that weird gatekeeper, scary casting director mentality, which I find troublesome. Because one thing I learned, I mean, I knew this, but one thing a lot of viewers really learned during the COVID 10 questions sessions we did, some of you guys were a part of, is you guys want us to succeed. Otherwise, you wouldn't be bringing us in the rooms or asking us to audition. It'd be a waste of your time. That's your job. And so if you're showing producers crummy takes, then you're not doing your job right. So it's like, you know, it's giving those actors that. I always tell an actor when they're like, oh, this isn't right for me. He's funny. I'm like, bro, if they didn't think you were funny, they wouldn't call you in the room. You know, I think that's a very important key, you know, or it might just be they want to see a different side of you they haven't seen before.
Right. Or we don't know if we can see that side of that person, and then we give them that chance and we see what to do with it. And, you know, it's also educational, right? We collect all that information for the next time too. Like, so you might not get this gig, but still having seen you and worked with you, we get more information.
You know, or think of you for other things that we may not have thought of you had we not met you that particular.
Every audition is an audition for the next audition.
Exactly. They're all valuable. That's the point. There's always value to everything you do, you know, on all sides, on what we do and on what the actors do, for sure.
You brought up a good point, Ilona, that I'd like to expand on is the direction, I guess, portion of it. The one thing that is missing that I always find struggle. That's why I send two takes to my agent to at least, you know, say, hey, here's some options. Is one thing that I do miss, because I love auditioning, and I think personally I've adapted a skill to self-taping, but there's always the element of direction that's missing. The feeling of having somebody there to, you know, show off your chops, in the sense that I think part of the audition, and correct me if I'm wrong, is to show the casting directors that you are flexible, that you can do something else with the scene, even if it might not be what they're looking for. It's just essentially a test to your flexibility and how well you take direction. Now, do you find that to be challenging when you get tapes? And maybe I'll throw this over to Randy. Sorry, not Randy, to Millie or Angela. Do you find it challenging when you get tapes and you wish you could direct somebody to maybe they're almost there, and maybe just that little extra bit of direction would have given them a better shot?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the things I was going to mention. One of the positives, of course, is being able to see more people. But then, of course, when you're looking at a self-tape, the vast majority of the projects I cast are based on self-tapes alone. Sometimes I don't even have virtual callbacks. So I'm seeing what I'm seeing. It's a one shot and that's it. And the actors don't get a chance to get feedback. We just book the actors and we move on right away to the next role or the next project. And having them in the room and being able to give them some redirection and giving them that immediate feedback right away has been lost along the way. And I've kind of lost the ability to have a lot of confidence in a lot of the people sometimes that I put forward, not knowing with 100% certainty that they are directable and can take some redirection really well, because I'm casting them based on the one self-tape, and that's just how it is, based on budget and based on what the producers want. So it's definitely changed since COVID, and a lot of the actors in my region have started acting during COVID time, so all they know is self-taping, and they don't know what it was like to be in the room. So it's really interesting to see actors that are coming from kind of from that world.
Yeah, it's like another generation. It's like the iPhone generation. You guys didn't know what a Game Boy was. Back in my day, I used to have to pay $10 for parking, get a parking ticket, and come home, and didn't book the role.
I just want to mention that I've been around since before even fax machines.
Really? I don't believe
they actually showed up for auditions 10 minutes before and were handed their stuff. Can you believe it? Like, we got through all of that.
Yeah.
I thought having to drive the edited DVDs to FedEx at night to
like, please, thank God. Thank God I didn't have to deal with that. I hated headshot printing, okay, let alone VHS. Millie, did you want to expand on either of the questions? If you want to touch on the self-tape in general, or the direction lacking thereof with tapes?
For me, I think, it's interesting. I've been really lucky to be in on sessions where we've had in-person sessions and then had to do and self-tapes. Usually it's the self-tape is the first round and then callbacks in person. And what's fascinating is, again, to go based on what Angela just said about, like, there are children that literally were just sort of born just at COVID. So they come into the room and they have no idea what the room is, that you're walking into the room of strangers and all of a sudden it's like, dance, perform, monkey, perform. And so that's been an interesting thing to sort of watch the younger generation, or this next generation of performers who only know how to do self-tapes or Zooms, and all of a sudden have them come into the room and then be directed and be asked to, to contextualize. Like, they thought they had an idea of one thing and all of a sudden they're like, oh, that I was completely wrong and now I have to do it. Or you weren't wrong. I'm asking for range. I just want to see something different.
Right.
What's been interesting is, you know, to walk into a room full of strangers, you know, and again, commercials have now been coming back into person a little bit more. So that's been fascinating to watch this generation who only know what self-tapes are. I was a reader for a casting director just last week, and she provided a choice, the option. You had the option to come in person and work with her, or you had the option to self-tape. And when the session actually finally happened, it was only a 4-person session, half hour.
Wow.
And she said, I'm so sorry. She goes, I originally had 3 hours booked and I had, you know, X amount of actors. And she said, they all just kept dropping out because they wanted to self-tape. And I kept thinking, oh my God, are you crazy? That it's a chance, like, to audition for this particular casting director, it's a master class. I mean, just in terms of storytelling, it was incredible. But I was like, to just stand in front of this casting director, just to be able to be directed and to be able to do this in person and to get notes. I just thought, wow, I was actually really kind of shocked. And then this one actor, he drove in 2 hours out of town just to come. He goes, I knew this was an opportunity and there was no way I was missing this. Yeah. And he said there was no way. And he was like, it was a chance to work with, sort of one of a great casting director. So I was like, yeah. And then it was just interesting was the one casting director, she looked at this one performer and she said, I have to be honest with you. I think I haven't been casting you right because I'm looking at this photo, this headshot going, you're not, the person that's standing in front of me is not this. And it was, she goes, I would not have known that had you not come into the room.
Yeah.
So that was,
so I'm assuming the person who booked with this part, unless this happened just, they probably not, but most likely it's going to be one of the people in the room. And
I wonder, and again, the casting director worked with them, like she tweaked the crap out of them. Yeah. And she had picked out, the scene was a very simple, it was a television show and very simply what one would read very simply. And then she just went in and nuanced the storytelling. I went, wow, even I was missing things going, really? And it was fascinating. I mean, again, that's kind of one of the reasons why I really like working with other casting directors is because I'm always learning and watching them. So yeah, it was incredible.
So I guess the consensus overall is it's nice to be able to see a lot more actors, but then the negative is the I guess quality of the sessions you can hold with said actors. I mean, you have to trust them. I mean, the actors who direct themselves or take the notes or take the time or do the takes are the ones that end up on top essentially, because even if there's someone who is close to getting the part, but the tape wasn't enough, they essentially lose out on it. I guess my question then to follow.
No, I don't know about that. No, I don't agree.
Okay, good. Tell me, please.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think the thing is that we work with what we were able to work with. Like if we have the self-tapes and let's say somebody comes in and you either know the actor or you don't know the actor. If you know the actor, you kind of know where to put them. And if you get a read that's like a self-tape that doesn't hit the right marks, you can, communicate with the agent, send an email, somehow get them to redo it. If you don't know the actor really well, then it's kind of an education. And then you're like, okay, well, that's what they have to offer. And in that case, yeah, it would be really nice to be able to guide them and direct them and see what, and in all cases, you'd love to direct them. But I think we're all kind of subject to what our producers or our clients or whatever are allowing or requesting. Yeah. It's beyond COVID now. Now it has become, I think, budgetary. And because I think they got very used to that. And so, there's certain even territories that aren't doing self-tapes, whereas I don't know what the like, maybe you guys can all speak to that. Like right now, a lot of the French casting directors are doing sessions all the time in Quebec, but the Anglo casting directors are not. Or we're just being, they're saying, okay, you can do, specific roles or callbacks live, and we haven't hit Zoom because Zoom is kind of limited too. It's kind of mixy in my opinion, but I think self-tape, it does, if you come in, it's not a guarantee that you're going to be the one,
Right.
it's an opportunity for somebody who may have needed more guidance and to maybe get closer to that possibility. And also it gives us an opportunity to get to know them a little bit better as well.
That's what I was, sorry, just to clarify, that's what I meant more so for the newer actors who you don't get to see. Like what Millie said was, you bring someone in and it's like, oh, I was casting you wrong the whole time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess then just to touch real quick then, how often do you find, because in my opinion, this is my thought of a perfect world, if producers will cough up the cash and allow it, is initial self, it's where everyone wins in my opinion. I think this is like the perfect scenario. And tell me if you guys agree or if you disagree or how you agree. Self tapes for the initial tape, because you get to see your amount of actors you'd like, and a limited in-person callback session. Now obviously for the smaller roles, there's no, or I should say smaller roles, for the more budgeted roles, there's not that space, but I'm talking like guest stars or recurring parts, lead parts. How often do you find that you guys get that freedom where you're casting for a chunkier part, and you're able to maybe pick and choose some certain tapes that you think, oh wow, these are actually really close, bring them in for a session in person, or even if it's a callback session for tapes, like a tape callback session. Did you guys find that you're getting those opportunities? Or you think it's lesser still because of COVID?
I think it's lesser based on, exactly what Andrea said on budget. Right now, we can do a callback session on Zoom and our director can still be in Atlanta. They can still be in LA or New York and they don't have to fly up and put them up. We can do a callback with 3 actors and our director can be in Hamilton and, outside of town, and they can hop on their Zoom on the side of the road and do a callback with 3 people and continue with their day, not have to be driven to where we're going to hold our session and take up half their day. Also, pre-COVID, we would quite often, at least I wouldn't show any new actors. I wouldn't bring them in the room in front of a client because I could stand there with egg in my face. I always self-taped anyone I didn't know ahead of time if I didn't have the budget or the time frame.
Or do pre-screens, right?
Or pre-screens.
Yeah.
The other thing that's not being taken into account, and this kind of since, like I kind of said at the beginning, talent's not geographical. I'm seeing actors who live in Sudbury. I'm seeing actors who live in Toronto. I'm seeing actors who live in Montreal, who live in Ottawa. If I want to hold a callback session, okay, well, we're going to have to hold 2 or 3, right? They're not necessarily all, like I just did one for a feature I'm working on. We did one in Toronto and then we had to do one in Ottawa as well. So it's harder because we're getting, which is great, opportunities have opened up to people who are, in Kingston and these little pockets across Ontario that didn't know this was an opportunity pre everyone jumping online to figure out where to find their passion now that the world stopped, and it adds that other level of have to figure out.
Yeah, no, like again, there's so many pros and cons. That's a very good point. I do think, that's the issue is the budget. And what actually to your point, if there's an actor all the way up north, it's not unfair to them to have a callback session and they have to come all the way down to Toronto or what have you, or even if it's in Ottawa. Anyone else want to touch on the self-tapes? Any last thoughts on that, on the casting side from anyone? Angela, maybe?
So on self-tapes, self-taping in general, were you wanting to know some do's and don'ts? I think that was one of the things you wanted to touch on as well.
Great way to close. Some tips would be great for the actors watching.
Yeah. Like a couple of each. For me, definitely following instruction is a big thing. So if we're asking you to do 2 or 3 things and you do 1 or 2 of those things, the first impression right away is you can't follow instructions. So if we want you to include your city of residence or the color of your eyes for clarity or a special skill in your slate, if we want that slate at the beginning, at the end, if you're not able to follow through right away, that's the first impression that we see. So you're already not starting off on a great foot right off the start, and also in on time, and not staging them too much. I do have some actors that still go to great lengths to bring in a lot of props and to stage their scene, even with set pieces, completely not necessary. Simple props that lend themselves to the scene, of course, are welcome. Exactly, nothing too big. And then for the dudes, I love it when I'm giving more than 1 scene. If there is 2 scenes, send me each scene in a different frame. Give me a medium frame in one, give me a close-up frame in another, and do a full body for your slate. And then I have full coverage in that one submission. So that's one little thing that I enjoy. So yeah.
Those are great. Millie?
For lighting. Lighting is a thing. I want to see your eyes. I need to see your eyes. To go on to what Angela said, reading the instructions and reading them carefully, like making sure you're going through, like, you know, I usually send a page of instructions just because I'm so particular about how I want everything. And I don't think I'm being unreasonable about that. It's just, you know, again, part of that is every casting director wants different framing, or, you know, wants to remind you of something, or it's very specific, or, you know, sometimes in my instructions, I'm just even giving you permission. I'd be like, please give me, if you have another take, or if you have another variation you'd like to do, please, you know, please, and, you know, have fun with it. So those are something I like to just remind the actor. Sometimes hopefully it's not just a job, and that you are going to have fun, and I want you to be able to enjoy doing this tape. But yeah, you know, the instructions are important. So it's important to, my thing would be eye lines, and just like figuring out, like, why is your eye line so far from where the camera lens is? That seems to be a big thing. Why is your reader over here? And why am I seeing everything in profile? Like, why are you not close? You know, I understand that your reader might be not closer to the lens, but where is your eye line, and what's happening there? So again, I also think it's interesting too in some self-tapes where everybody thinks somebody else is watching it. So then nobody's really watched it all the way through. And then you're watching it going, did nobody watch this completely all the way through? Like, why did the sound all of a sudden just out, or why is there a blooper in here, or like, it's so, I was like, obviously this was not the tape. For me, one of the other things too is naming the file.
Oh yeah,
like, why the name should be somewhere in that file, like, so that it, you know, it would be, you know, I Smyth, or, you know, like somewhere I know that your name is, so that, because again, that's the other thing on the casting side. Sometimes we're getting hundreds, if not thousands, before the deadline. So we're just trying to process them. And if you're IMG 694653, I'm like, what? I don't, you know, and again, sometimes that's an interesting thing where everybody thinks that somebody else is doing the proofing, and like, watch your tape before you submit it. Make sure you've labeled your tape so that your name is there, because the best part is you want to get your name in front of us. We want to know your name. Like, so yeah, just simple things like that.
I think simple things that they take for granted. No, I agree. That's a smart point. And like, I just want to ask one question before we move on. Do you prefer, guys, I want to go real quick before I go around the circus one, because I'm going to forget it. Do you guys prefer slate first or last, or does it matter? Just real quick. First, last, doesn't matter. We'll go right around the corner.
Separate file. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's a good one. No, that's a good one too.
I mean, ideally, I would love a separate file, because
separate.
I have a checklist. Like, I'm checking, I'm filling in blanks. So I'm putting name, you know, height, city, you know, agency, if I know, kind of thing. So for me, I'm filling in the form first. So again, separate file is really great. I don't necessarily put it on all my instructions. I'm just happy if there is a slate, because sometimes people don't, they just completely forget it. I know if I don't see it at the beginning, I'll scrub to the end, but I try and do all the information first before. So ideally for me, I like my slate at the beginning so I can just fill out my form.
File, beginning.
Yeah, ideally, I love it. And Andrea, I love that you're actually saying that. Do you guys put that on your instructions?
We do. We try to ask them for a separate file so we can put it either before or after based on the clients. You know, like sometimes for the role, it's important that they know the physicality, and sometimes it's more important that they, you know, watch the audition first. You know, you're kind of playing the game. The instruction, I just wanted to say the instructions, I know everybody's talking about the instructions. I want y'all to know that those are, we give instructions because we want to help. It's like, it's to help the process. It's not because we want it the way we want it. You know, it's seriously, it's like, we do it because it's like, oh, you know, we've seen so many auditions. It's like, okay, well, that went wrong. Oh, that one went not wrong there. Oh, okay. So let's give them a list of what they should think about. And then obviously, if you know this stuff, don't, you know, like, you know, we're not like saying, no, you don't, you know, you're not following the instructions. But no, it's like, these are things that are going to be helpful for that role, or that, you know, to present yourself best. And then if you can help us help you, that's what we're looking for, you know. So the separate slate, we can move it around, and we even ask for separate takes, because if one doesn't work and it's really bad, and
We
one,
get rid of it.
we get rid of it, we hide it, you know, like we hide the take that sucks, you know. So I mean, those are important things. And I know that somebody mentioned about Angela, you mentioned about the different shots. Like, definitely include a close-up there somewhere, and almost, you know, because it also, for the medium, you know, film or television, you're going to work in a better zone if you know that you're in a close-up, because, you know, sometimes number one, sometimes if they do send it very wide, we can't even see the expression on your face. And if we can't see your expression, we can't connect to you, and we don't know what the heck you're doing. So it's not working for you, you know, in that case. But and then the whole idea of reviewing the read, somebody definitely should review as though, even though they were an audience member, because that might help you to select the right take for that material, you know. Just imagine seeing it not just as yourself, the actor who's looking to see where you're, you know, what looks like what on you and how you're playing, but review the take in almost in the vein of seeing it from the point of view of an audience performer, like an audience person. So anyway, I didn't want to grab it all, but that was just a couple of comments I had to say. I'm sorry.
Ilona, any thoughts on the casting
I mean, I
process?
fully agree with separate takes, ideally, especially as Andrea said, if there's one that isn't working or just one's better, and then we're not trying to edit to get the right one.
Separate takes, not the slate necessarily.
If the slate can't be separate, then I prefer it at the end. It also saves me time. Really, the reason it's there is we're asking specific questions that our clients asked us to ask you. The amount of time, to me, actors overthink their slates and spend some. I know who you are. You're coming to audition because I know who you are. I just don't want to take the second to go look at your height to see if you're going to match my lead, or this group in the high school are all going to go fit well together. Let us know so our client knows. But to me, I want to get right to that, because also what happens if you're at the beginning and I'm trying to speed past your slate, I'm now partially into your scene. I got to go back and forth, and it drives me bonkeroonies. But my last thing on self-tapes is, it's 2024. We have been in this self-tape bullshit game for 4 years. If you do not have a proper setup, get your ass on Amazon. I don't want to say go spend some money, but it's not expensive.
Spend some money. It's like $6.
She's $25.99. You can get a steamer for $30, a handheld one. You don't need to see Beyonce behind me. You don't need to, you know, see your weight set in the background. It's that little bit that's going to have you stand out and above others, that it's like, oh, this is a seasoned actor who's been doing this for a while, because they have their setup, you know, and you can use it going forward. Like, our phone cameras, everything's great these days. So just set yourself up. It's been 4 years, please.
It's true. Just don't have McDonald's for like once a month, or, you know, you're good. There's a lot of sales on Amazon, guys. Newer is like my favorite ring light.
It does bother me, though, if they have to invest a lot of money in that.
Well,
Honestly, it really does.
It is, but I would. Hey, listen, we'll do this in another session. It's a tax write-off, ladies and gentlemen. You can write it off. You can write off a portion.
You're going to use it again and again and again. It's not like a one-shot spend.
No, I agree with you, but it should be done. There's got to be a way to do it as simply as possible, as you know. You don't need to spend a lot of money. You don't.
Yeah, to your guys' point, you don't need to go to like a studio and rent a studio and do a tape. It's cheaper to just buy yourself a ring light, you know, put your dogs in the patio and do it up. Any last thoughts? Who didn't speak yet? Did you guys all speak of their last thoughts? Yeah? Yes. Anyone else? No? Okay. Guys, that was good. We're like 30 minutes, 40 minutes almost in, and we like really took, that was probably one of my favorite topics to discuss. It's something that we always question as actors. We're already always questioning our existence. External crisis is a thing all the time. So it's good to hear what the casting directors think about the self-tapes. And if you guys have any questions, please prepare them, send them our way, and we'll see if we can ask them near the end. We're going to take a quick break for the commercial. But before I do, Andrea and Randy might like this. We are also going to be doing this en français. So before we go on to our commercial, I'd like to introduce, I butchered that, I'm sorry. I'd like to introduce my co-star on the French side. We'll be doing these French interviews as well. Sarah ST-FLEUR. So if we can get her on camera to say a quick hello. Hello.
Hello. Oh my God. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. This was so insightful. I have a page of notes just watching it, and I'm like, Sarah, focus. You have to introduce yourself. But I'm like, make set up. Make sure your light is okay. Gosh. Can you see my eyes? Okay. Okay, so like my co-host Farid said, thank you very much for the warm intro. My name is Sarah ST-FLEUR. I'm originally from Montreal, Quebec, and now I'm located in Toronto. So I am the targeted audience for this Q&A because I'm slowly merging into acting. But if I could describe myself, I would say I am a creative, a corporate creative, because I have a 9-to-5. Okay, I didn't make it yet, but I'm hoping to get there. So I'm a comedian, I'm a storyteller, I'm a producer, because I've never believed in waiting for opportunities to come my way. I've created my own. Recently partnered with the city of Toronto to produce a show in Etobicoke. Fantastic, we sold out. Selfish promo. And when I was asked to come and do this in French, I think there's so much stuff for us to get from this, because I am that person who's not sure about how to go about submitting stuff, how to find an agent. And when this opportunity came to me, I was like, yes, please and thank you. Merci, you know? So I'm looking forward to come and do this in français, s'il vous plaît. And yeah, like watching you guys was fantastic. I was taking so many notes, and I hope that the French casting directors are going to be as giving as you were, because I'm like, ooh, make sure the light is proper, the light's set. I'm like, I should have just prepped before for this, but hey, you know what? You live and you learn, okay? So hi, everyone. And yeah, that's about it for me.
I love the energy. I thought I was hyped. Let's go.
Mind you, I had the lighting setup thing. Can you guys see me properly? I feel like there's like a
your
little bit of
hair is disappearing. It's becoming part of the background, but I sort of see you.
Oh, you sort of see me. Hold on, let me stop moving.
No, there you go. We're good. We see you
Good?
now.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Better.
All right, guys, we're gonna take a quick little break, and then we're gonna be right back.
Doing this in French too. I think someone wanted me to do this in French, en français, because people are gonna watch this and we need that in promo. So. Bonjour tout le monde, mon nom c'est Sarah ST-FLEUR, je viens de Montréal, Québec, et je suis maintenant présentement à Toronto, et je voudrais bien vous inviter à faire des sessions où est-ce qu'on va pouvoir parler à des agents, des casting directors qui vont pouvoir venir nous répondre à toutes vos questions, et j'ai trop hâte de commencer à faire nos sessions. Alors, on vous attend. Why is it lagging like that? I got high-speed internet!
I was gonna say your ventriloquism is awesome.
I don't know what's this.
Farid, YAZDANI, casting director.
See, why is everybody hating on French so much? They don't want us to be great.
It's great. Don't worry. It's gonna be great. Don't worry. The internet is lagging hard. Don't worry. It's all good.
Oh my gosh.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that's my co-host who will be doing the interviews in French as well. So you can stay tuned for that, for upcoming times and dates. We're going to take a quick break. It's going to be a quick little break from our sponsors, and we're going to be right back with some more questions with our lovely panel of casting directors. So we will return after these messages. Hi.
Director who gives you good notes. I'm going to be a bad director who gives you lousy notes.
My Tribe Studio. A versatile space for your projects. A space to find your tribe.
That was Me Tribe Media, who is sponsoring this lovely session here on Entertainment 411. We are right back now with our panel of casting directors. If you guys are just tuning in, we have been discussing self-tapes, the do's and don'ts, the preferences, the do's, the don'ts, the pros and cons. If you missed out, you could watch it later. Don't worry. This is recorded. You'll be able to watch it afterwards. I'm going to move on to another topic at hand that we're all sort of interested in. And actually, the timing is quite relevant as the WGC just came off of their strike and luckily came to an agreement as of today. So the question is in regards to the writer's strike in the States. And I guess we could touch on the writer's strike that was happening in Canada and how it affected, our industry. I mean, and everyone's thoughts on that. Yeah. So anyone have any thoughts right off the top about the strike and how it affected us?
I don't think it's too little to say that, or too much to say that. Yeah, I mean, while the strikes were going on, I mean, we were fortunate. We still had some stuff that we were able to shoot, but for the most part, it was like a solid year of, unfortunately, most people not working very much at all.
And I think it continues, and it continues across the continent, actually.
Yeah.
It's still affecting it slowed everything down significantly. Like once we came back, things have still not ramped up the way they have been or in the past. Like it's still affecting casting directors across the United States and across Canada. So that's what I've been hearing. So it's not just our acting community, but it's affecting everyone because you've got agents who are, struggling to survive. We have casting directors who are struggling to survive, and you have actors that are struggling to survive. So it's affecting everyone, but I'm hopeful that it is ramping up for the upcoming season. We have to keep our fingers crossed,
Yeah, I agree from my end as well. I mean, I was fortunate enough not to have had some projects on the go. I didn't feel it so badly on my end, but I know a lot of colleagues of mine down in the Lower Mainland on the West Coast here definitely felt it to the point where bills were not getting paid and people were losing their homes for sure. And I have one feature film where the strike happened. We did have some actors from down in the States lined up, and because we had to push and then we had to push again, we ended up losing the availability of those actors. So, I mean, it happened for a minimal amount of my projects. So luckily, overall, it didn't affect me too drastically, but I know that it was felt, nationwide across coast to coast. And I don't know when we're going to fully recover, because I know there's so many projects out there that still have not gone to camera yet, that they're still feeling the effects of that. So hopefully things will get back on track sooner than later.
Yeah, I would like to touch on the idea that the Writers Guild of Canada also decided to strike. Personally,
yeah.
I'm sort of proud because I feel as Canadians, a lot of times we see the big economy below sort of fight for what they believe in and push for what they want. And we find that, I personally find that sometimes Canadians, we can be a little complacent. And I think that's not the case as of late, especially now. I think it was very powerful that the Writers of Canada also decided to say, okay, well, you know what? These guys down there getting what they rightfully deserve. I think maybe we should also ask for what we rightfully deserve. I think I read an article that was crazy. Like Suits, for example, massive show. And one of the writers had mentioned, like, one of the lead writers was getting peanuts for residuals, absolute peanuts, for a show that's been having a revival or a blow up on Netflix and has been seen by millions of millions and has been relevant after maybe 10 years of being around. So I think some of those things are important to mention. And yes, like, agreed, as the rest of our industry is affected. Your thoughts I share those thoughts. It's hopefully for the greater good, in the sense that now when we do decide to come back stronger, it's a stronger industry for all of us.
I don't think anybody's commenting on the validity of the strikes.
No,
it's a matter of really how they affect, how they've affected after they've resolved and hopefully gotten what they, deserve and what will help keep things going in a better direction going forward.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, it definitely put a slowdown. I think all actors all felt it. Casting directors have clearly felt it as well. But yeah, it's tough. It's a tough thing to gauge because, like you said, it's on one end, it's like, oh, we all gotta want to work, but on the other end, it's like we gotta all get paid for the work that we do.
Yeah.
And I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like it's the people at the top that have to come down to us and say, okay, fair is fair. Any other thoughts on the writer's strike? Maybe even the actor strike in the States. I know that affected us a lot. Up north, it was a weird sort of situation that maybe I saw that Canadian actors were getting seen a little bit. I mean, that's not the greatest reason why, but did you guys notice that was a thing? Since the actors were on strike in the States, that the Canadian actors had to be needed more?
I think it depended on the product, like the project. Like any of the feature films that I had that had, like Angela said, that had some larger, A-level names attached to it, got pushed because of scheduling. And I think some of these other, movies of the week, we found workarounds, just like we did during COVID when, again, it's a budget thing. They didn't want to pay for the 14-day quarantine. So, essentially the whole shoot of the movie. So, Canadians did end up getting seen a little bit more, not on the best thing because we all want to be allies and in the same fight. But, that was about it. But what Andrea said earlier too, there are a lot of casting directors still struggling. A lot of my colleagues in the States are really hard up right now, and it's not fun. And it's also, the state of the economy. Everyone's feeling it. Features aren't getting made the way they did 10 years ago. People aren't closing those gaps in funding that they could have really quickly with a name or two. So it's a weird time out there. The only bonus of the strike was I was pregnant and I got a week off.
Yeah, congratulations.
I have a baby. I was like, come on.
I mean, the Casting Directors Association doesn't get mat leave?
No, we don't have a union.
No,
We're fighting for ourselves.
I know. I'm putting it into the universe. I know. Trust me. I know.
Wait, I'm done with the babies.
How about just time to sleep?
Yeah.
Let's schedule that into our agreement.
You know what? There's another big pro for you guys for the self-tapes. It's like, you guys, people forget that you guys have to come to work every day and sit through millions of auditions, which that is draining. I've done it once. I've done it and it's draining, and you have to be present every time, and it's very draining. So good on you guys. Millie, do you have any thoughts on the writer's strike, the Canada actors and States as well?
It was hard. It was really hard on all of us. I don't do a lot of the American stuff, but I can appreciate that the industry in Toronto really suffered. And a lot of our stuff is production services oriented. So that was really tricky. And I don't think Toronto's recovered at all yet. I think we're still, the struggle is real. And I say that again, because it's been a really difficult few years, at least in Toronto for sure, for the industry.
I agree wholeheartedly. Let's lighten up the mood a little bit and talk something a little more interesting and fun. I mean, no, the other one was very interesting, sorry, but it is dampening my spirits because the industry is crumbling and I am no longer on a TV show.
It's gonna come back. It's gonna come back. We're all here because we believe it's gonna come back. So
100%.
Yes.
100%. Let me tell you the most humbling thing, guys, just on a personal level, is I've always strived to get to that series regular role and book that, the show where you're working on a consistent basis. And I finally got there, 3 seasons on a CBC show. So I cannot complain. I was blessed. I was living a life of joy. It was fantastic. I had a scooter and my dogs were there and it was sunny. And then all of a sudden it's done. And I think the biggest shock to the system is when you get what you're striving for and then you have to start all over again. And it's such Groundhog Day for actors. And that's one thing that I think a lot of actors can agree. It's you're never really there. You're always working. You're working for the next one. So I guess to maybe segue into that is, what is something you guys look for, and maybe how important is the demo reel? The demo reel is an interesting one. How often do you guys watch the demo reels? I know my agents sometimes attach my demo reels with my tapes to certain cast members who haven't seen me as often or lately. I do know, I've noticed, like, I got a tip, Actors Access is something that we're using a lot as well. My agent said that it's better to put clips on Actors Access than a full demo, because it gives the producers and what have you something to click on individual as opposed to watching an entire long demo reel. So any thoughts on the demo reel, how long it should be, certain things you guys are looking for in it? Yeah.
I like a demo. I like to be able to look at a demo at 3 a.m. To back up maybe a submission or to back up an audition, and I might include if the demo I think works for you and it works for the role, I might download it and re-upload it to your your profile so I can send it to the client. I think the idea of the individual scenes, I think it's not bad to also cut one together so that you have one quick demo reel, and then you can do the expanded little scenes if you want to see something more of that particular character. Because it is nice to be able to send one demo, to a client. But sure, the expanded scenes for maybe those little clips that you've used, that's good. It should be a variety of the performances that you've given, rather than, I have seen some demos and they seem like a lot of the clips are very similar. So that's really critical, is to kind of include a variety, and always your best material. Don't include something just to include it. It's got to be it's got to be good, and it's got to be fast and short, because you don't have much time to keep their attention.
How short?
I mean, like, how short? The demo? Like, I don't know. I don't have a number in mind, but I can tell you that I think, I mean, maybe somebody else does, but I definitely find like it has to move. If you spend a minute on something, it better be really engaging, because you got to keep like, for us, we watch the demo to add more material and to educate us and to support. But a client looking at a demo, generally they have 5 seconds and they're going to look at it and they're going to go, oh, does that person engage me? Do I want to keep watching? And if you spend like half an hour on one character, it's like, oh God, move on, baby, move on. Right. Anyway, I'll leave it to somebody else.
I'd even venture to say, like, when it comes to comedy, if you're somebody that does a lot of comedy, there should be a separate reel for your comedy.
Yeah. Great point.
Yeah. I think too,
you read my mind. I love that thought.
I think too, like, actors put a lot of pressure on themselves for demos. Good demos take time. They happen when you book. Ask your agent to get, when a time of negotiation, ask them for a link to the project once it's aired. We can say yes or no depending on what our clients are okay with, but that's how you're going to get access to this. And then in the corner of your reel, we're going to see that it was network. It's a show that's been network approved before. You're going to have the show, you're going to have the network. That's showing to our client, makes them more comfortable with approving you when our networks are essentially approving who gets cast. On top of that, don't put the pressure on yourself. Yeah, you might get ones full of classwork and whatever to help you get an agent, which is awesome and great, and for any kind of indie stuff you're doing as well. But for building a really good demo, it takes time. So take the pressure off. Focus on your scenes for your self-tapes and the characters, and that's really what's going to be ahead of everything. And not only does your acting need to be good, make sure whoever you're acting with in the scene is good, because that can also really ruin a scene in demo.
Hello, I love you, Johnny. For those just tuning in, guys, I do see all your questions popping in, and if it looks like I'm a bad self-taper and my eye line is going down, it's because I'm watching you guys ask us questions. Whoa, picture in picture. So I'm going to get to you guys' questions very shortly. Do not worry. We're just talking right now about demo reels and how important they are. You brought up a really good point, Ilona. A lot of actors are like, well, it's the egg before the horse. Is that how the phrase goes? Chicken before the egg? Cart before the egg?
Horse
before the egg?
Heart before
I
the
know.
Horse.
Guys.
Heart before the horse.
Something before the goat, 2 sticks in a bush make a big cry.
First, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah. You teach a man to camel. Okay, so what it is like a lot of actors are like, what am I going to do for my demo reel? And what I've been told, and let me hear if you guys think this is good idea, for the newer actors who don't have that source material on Netflix, CBC, wherever, is put some of your, obviously if it's released already, self-tapes into a little sizzle reel. Some of the self-tapes that you've done, or any tapes that you've done, or any scene work that you've done with a partner in a studio or in an acting class. Do things like that work?
I mean, it's great for us to see if we feel like watching something extra, but I wouldn't send it to a client.
Right.
No, it's right. It's educational for us, but it's not what you want to send forward to a client.
Okay. No, not for client. I mean more for casting. If they've never seen you before, or like, self-done scene work with a partner in the front of a ring light. When I say audition, not less so much an audition, more so like scene work. Does that work for you? Like to say, hey, never seen you before, but here's some things, here's my chops. Does that work?
Yeah. It works for me. I mean, I'm happy to look at a sizzle reel or a scene reel if I'm getting to know somebody. It's about building that relationship and building that trust and learning about their abilities and watching their growth as a performer over the years. So I'm always happy to see like a sizzle reel, a scene reel. Like my colleagues are saying, though, that's not what we would put forward. We would put forward a demo of published work to supplement the self-tape that's coming in. Or if the actor is absolutely unable to self-tape, sometimes I'm happy to put the demo forward in lieu of the self-tape, just to get a little extra time in there for the actor to eventually tape if it's past the deadline. So that's my stance on the scenes.
Yeah. Millie, any thoughts on the demo?
No, I concur with everybody else. Yeah.
Are you guys good if we go into some audience questions? We have some viewers. Live and direct. Let's see. Let's go to Shane Smith. This is a very relevant question. Very nice start question from the audience. Mr. Shane Smith. Hello, Shane. Thanks for watching. We're going to get to your question right now. I'm applying to be a casting director for a student film. What are the things that casting directors do? I know it's a lot. Let's try to summarize for Shane for maybe a student project when you guys were first, starting out the business as casting directors.
Oh my.
I think Millie should answer.
Never done a student project.
Very open question.
because we were taking all the answers away and you
no, I'm listening. I'm learning from you guys. All right. So my thing, I mean, that's the one thing. I mean, I don't feel like a lot of people sort of know what casting directors do. So it's interesting, again, yes, we see actors, but again, part of that is also, for me, casting is an extension of storytelling. So again, reading the script and then sort of curating options for who can best tell this story. And the one thing is, again, why casting directors are as good as they are is because they know the talent pool and they know what's in the talent pool and they know how to pull efficiently from that talent pool in order to be able to get it in front, to get the performers in front of the producers and directors of the project. So, it's an interesting thing because the one thing that I think everyone probably on this panel is we all probably, for me, I apprenticed under many casting directors, and I'm still apprenticing under casting directors, and I'm still learning with the people that I work with. So it's an interesting thing where I feel like a casting director's like, again, always learning, much like when casting is telling actors to always, you've got to sharpen your chops. You keep working your chops. I feel the same way about casting, where we're always watching and we're always looking for talent. And it can come in different variations. Like either we're going to theater or we're going into an open call. Because again, the talent might not be in the pool. You have to look for, a 7-foot Samoan. You know, it's like, where do we start? How do we start? Is it in the talent pool? Do we know it off the top of our heads? Or do we have to actually go and source it? So I don't know, like, again, my thing about you're being a casting director, part of that is, do you know how to put out your breakdown? Do you know what the breakdown is? Do you know where you're going to put it out on? You can only put it out sort of once to the agents. What is the most efficient service to do that in? Again, knowing the difference between the non-union and the union, and paying, like, and that's the one thing about, as much as your budget, the production budget will dictate how much an actor is being paid. I mean, obviously, if it's a union project, the union dictates how much an actor is being paid. But if it's non-union, and like for a student film, you can use, in Ontario, under ACTRA, you can use, for a student film, if it's part of the ACTRA, if the school is part of the ACTRA signatory, you can use union and non-union performers, and it's sort of the only time you can use both. But again, if it's not a signatory school with ACTRA, then that's a trickier thing. Then it becomes non-union, and then knowing how to target that pool, because again, non-union talent is searching for non-union talent is extremely different than searching for union talent. Different guidelines. Almost no guidelines. Non-union world is it's almost like the Wild West right now. Are there rules? Are there no rules? But again, as a casting director, you also want to know that your talent is being treated fairly, because for me, I don't ever want to engage a performer on a project where they're being mistreated. So that's important for me if I am doing non-union projects. And again, knowing how to, I find casting is also about relationships. I'm only as good as the actors I can access. So do I have relationships with some of the agents, or, how difficult will that actor be to get? Because I know that actor doesn't work for scale, but this is a really beautiful low budget project. And I think just to even try and get it in front of that performer, so again, that's just sort of the beginning. Can somebody continue?
Beginning of many things you guys do, but one of the things that I heard that's a big key is the pulling from the talent pool. It's that you guys see like thousands and thousands of tiny little headshots like this, and having to find the ones that you know, or you recognize, or you want to get to know, or you want to get to recognize. It's almost like you guys are like managers for the province, for the country, and it's rotating all the time. You're seeing us, you're seeing others, you're seeing new people. It's kind of interesting that way.
Well, and that's interesting too, because basically we're all fishing in the same pond. There's no, like, the pool is what it is, especially if you're putting out a breakdown to the agents are submitting. So again, that's sort of simplistically, that's what's happening. But I find casting is now a lot about authenticity. It's about identity. So again, sometimes casting is not as simple as just putting out a breakdown and letting the agent submit on that. Sometimes you actually have to go out and you have to dig and you have to find it. And, it's so specific. Like when I say the 6'5" Samoan, I think that's a real thing. And I think each of us probably on this panel has had an experience where we've had that one character where you went, where am I going to find this? And you read the script and you went, oh dear. Okay. And you were like, okay, I'm up for the challenge, but it's not going to be just like, I'm waiting for an agent to submit it for me, and then I'm just going to pull it in. It's now we've got to go out into the world and dig for it and find it. And then on top of that, good performance, natural instincts. Does it meet the specs? Are they available? Because they probably have day jobs. So again, are they committed to the same project? Do they want to work for low budget? Want to give it work?
I think there's a lot. I think it goes even beyond that, though, because there are that many different casting directors. And I think every casting director, number one, we all have to go beyond the submissions because we have our own vision. And it's because of our vision, and it's because of our sensibility or our sensitivity or our take on the material, or it's like a matchmaking, right? It's like why we might end up casting a particular show might be because of our attack on the material. just like you would hire an actor because they have the sensibility for that material, I think they hire casting directors because of similar, like we have to go through the same process and get hired. And it's usually based on our take and our interaction with a director or producer. And so I think our interpretation of which actor might be good for something is going to be different for each of us, so there is something I know what you're talking about. And in terms of when we get those submissions, there are certain criteria, like physical criteria, but there's also a whole other touchy-feely, you can't identify it, magical, mystical ability to kind of envision, oh, I can see this person bringing that to life, and like, that's cool. That's exciting, the vision that we each bring to it,
Absolutely. And that's important to remember. Casting is it's subjective. I am one casting director of maybe 25 to 30 in Toronto. So again, why is one specific casting director, different than the other? And part of that is absolutely what Andrea said, vision, storytelling. But again, Andrea might see, we might see the same actor, and everybody on this panel, we could throw out a name like, so Farid, Farid is out there, and we each think of Farid very differently. Somebody might think of him as the thug, the other one might think of him as the businessman or the lawyer, somebody else might think of him as like the grifter. And I think that's fascinating, because again, part of that is it's to taste as well.
Yeah.
Like, we would curate very different, like, we all fish from the same pond, but we would curate very different options.
That was the point that you said, that I was like, no, we fish from the same pond, but differently, so that was important to me. So, yeah.
So if you're a 6'5" to 7 foot Samoan and you're watching right now,
oh yeah, please let us know who you are and where you are.
Call Millie.
Shrink. If you go from 7 to 6'5", that'd be great. We have a question from, and forgive me if I think I'm going to say this pretty well, actually. Esther Brzezinski. Oh, I think I got that right. Is it okay to send casting agents our demo reel as an actor? I'll add to that question. And if it is okay, do you prefer obviously going through an agent or self?
Always through an agent. Always, always, always through an agent if you have an agent. I'll speak for myself. I'm sure everybody will agree. I get so many emails. I almost can't keep up with my emails on a day-to-day basis. So if I had actors emailing me directly and constantly, I wouldn't get any sleep, and I'm already not getting any sleep. So if you have an agent, please, by all means, communication should go through your agent. I do have agents that sign new actors that send me a link to their demo reel because it's a new client they've signed and they just want to introduce them to me, and that's totally fine. I'm more than happy to do that, especially if they live locally to the region that I'm casting projects for. So I would always recommend directly. If they are self-represented and just starting out, for me, I do a lot of local casting. I'm going to say I'm okay with that, but for casting directors that are maybe in some of the larger metropolises, that may not be okay. So maybe that might just be a play it by ear depending on where you're located. So yeah.
Anyone else want to touch on that? Oh, we're echoing. Echo. It's weird. You guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
That was weird. I was echoing for a bit there. I don't know why. Anyone else want to touch on the demo, the self-submit?
I mean, I think it's also cool if you subscribe to any of those services, the casting platforms, and you can attach your demo. That's awesome. That's a cool thing, because then we can find it when we're looking for it. I agree that, we do get a lot of emails, but if somebody is not represented by an agent, then, send the email, I guess. I think, Angela, you're trying to discourage the idea that we turn around one day and we end up with like 1,000 emails from actors with demos, and it's not necessarily the best way for us to process it. It's kind of better if it's requested, or if it's through somebody that we know that we work with and is trying to promote it, promote the performer. But it's if you're independent, obviously there's got to be a way that you can reach us and send an email, and if we can, we'll look at it, and if we can't, well, then we might get back to you in a few months. I think, Farid, you might be frozen.
Yes.
You haven't moved well, in my opinion. we take over?
I don't know.
Oh no.
Can you
Hey,
I could definitely take over. Can you
This is a great question though. Let's just answer this one. What's your opinion on wardrobe when doing a self-tape? Is it better for more or simple or to really dress up for the role?
I'm the world's greatest actor. I was frozen in time. No, I think sadly my phone died mid.
Oh no.
Yeah, I forgot to plug it in. It's all good. I'm smart. I have a backup. But yes, thank you, Sarah. See, co-host, baby. That was a good question. That was another one of our questions.
There's major lagging on my side, so I'm trying not to move. And I'm like, oh my God, people are going to think that I'm just having a heart attack. But hey, you know what? Flashing for you.
Yes, to piggyback, Cynthia Menard asked, what is your opinion on wardrobe when doing a self-tape? Is it best to go simple or prefer to be really dressed up for the role you're auditioning for?
I just like actors to dress in the style of the character. It's as simple as that. They don't need to dress as the character in costume. They don't need the police hat and the badge and the handcuffs. But if they are in a dress shirt, and just in the style of the character is all I like to see.
Suggest.
What I care, Randy, what was that?
What I care, playing a doctor, don't come in a t-shirt and shorts.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Just suggest.
You don't need to dress like you're going to Walmart unless you're going to Walmart. Exactly. But at the same time, to me, like your outfit's great. What I'm going to focus on the most is the character and what you're bringing to the scene. Like
100%.
We're not the wardrobe department. We're the casting directors. We're here to see you act. We're not the props department. We're not any of that, so really just spend that time focusing on the character and less time focusing on what exact outfit to wear.
Yeah, there's no rhyme or reason from what I've experienced. I remember I was shocked. I went into an audition for a show, depending on the show, like Suits. The show is in the name. And I was shocked at the amount of guys that went in without a tie or like a suit. And I'm like,
Defiance.
Like at least a tie, and you know what I mean? But then on the flip side, when I booked an episode of The Boys, I was an FBI or a CIA operative. And I went in a t-shirt and shorts because I just couldn't be bothered that day. And I was like, there's no way I'm getting it, and then I ended up booking that. So there's no rhyme or reason to answer that question on the actor's side from my personal experience. I think Iana said it the best, that it's the performance that'll ultimately take over the show. And from what I'm hearing from you guys.
Agreed.
So if you're going to come in a t-shirt. Yeah. Is it you, Sarah? I can't tell. Your mouth is moving. Your voice is
I have a question for people who are beginning and trying to build like a demo reel. How do you guys feel about, let's say, if you haven't been featured in any work, to take, let's say, social media skits and put everything together, especially if you have a following? How do you guys feel about social media, especially in the comedy scene? How do you feel about comedic actors using social media skits and to just build a demo reel if they're starting?
I think, first of all, comedy is really specific. Sorry, Sarah, you?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Okay. Yeah, comedy is really specific, right? So it kind of depends on the project. That's why I suggested earlier that for those actors that actually do comedy, or work a lot in comedy, they should have a separate reel for the comedy. Okay. But yeah, again, it depends on the comedy. We're handling Ghosts, the series Ghost, and their comedy is very particular, and so maybe something like skits might not work for that type of show, but it doesn't mean that it wouldn't work for others. Okay. Other comedy type things,
Good to know. So it's more important to do a lot of research based on the area of comedy that you want to do, or just do the research first of the style and then submit or put something together? Because it's really hard when you don't have anything and you're just trying to present yourself in the way where you want to show that you're willing, but when you don't have any specifics or you don't know where exactly how to present it, it's great to have an idea of what is the general census on that in general.
I think we had an example of that this past year. There's an actor or a performer or a personality who has a great deal of comedy in their blood. But when they handled the show Ghosts that Randi was working on, it wasn't the right style. And you can't get the interest from the clients in the wrong style. So I think as an actor, whatever you're doing, I mean, just as we would have to do our homework before we start working on a show to cast it, the actors, when they have that material, if it's a series and it's got previous seasons, you better look at those previous seasons to get the idea of what the comedy is.
The show.
Or the drama. I mean, even we had some drama series that it was like, well, check out seasons 1 through 3 so that you know where to, hit with your acting. So education is really valuable, for you as a performer. So sending something that's so different from what we're looking for that particular show would not help you or service you, in my opinion.
Great question, Sarah.
Thank you.
Let's move over to Jim Luty, who is a picture of a sea turtle on his Facebook profile. Jim is asking, and this is an interesting one. I think we kind of know the answer, but it's a good to revisit, as a lot of new actors have this question. Do you prefer self-tapes against a plain background, or should I add some realism? For example, I submitted a tape as a cab driver and shot it in my car as opposed to right in front of a screen. So I sacrificed, this is a good point. Wait for it, guys. I sacrificed lighting, camera angle, quality for some authenticity. I'll wait for your answer while I go buy a ring light.
I saw Ilona shaking her head, but honestly, I really like on-location auditions.
We've had
see? Everyone likes.
I do. I enjoy them. I think
some of them are really good, but I understand, Ilona, because most of them are not. But there have been some, and it's just like, oh, it's fantastic.
Don't give them false hope. Like if the character says in bed gets out of bed, I'm gonna trust you know how to do that. I don't need to see it.
Yeah, for
we
sure.
don't need to see it, but it's so much fun.
This is a good debate, because I'm a visual person. Like, I'll listen, most times it's going to be behind this beautiful brick wall and I'm putting a tape down, but like I feel like imaginations are helpful with some.
You're not only taking a risk there, though. You're taking a risk that the clients are not going to be like, what? Like, get ready to redo it. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to have sound effects or visual effects.
Sure.
I really like if you're at the door and you open a door, it's really honestly because it allows the actor not have to focus on creating and imagining all those other things, and they could. I mean, I don't disagree that you don't need it. You don't need to do that. But I think it's fun. I mean, mind you, when they send to you, they won't do it. When they send to me, they can do it.
This is what I'm there. This is what I'm saying. This is why
and all goes to Andrea and Randi.
This is why you tune in to Entertainment 411. When you have a tape for Iona, you don't do a goddamn thing with your door. With Randi and Andrea, tape it in the bath. All right.
Okay, wait a minute.
Don't do
that. Don't do that. No, that's a very good point. It's a good question to ask, but I think the consensus is it's not needed. And if you're gonna do it, you better do it right, and you better be damn confident in your comedic chops or your chops that you did it the right way. Here's a good one from Darius Z. Hello, Darius, Dariush in my language. Hi, CDs. Thanks for this informative chat session. My question is, how important is it to stand out in a self-tape for smaller actor roles instead of principal roles? I find when I was, the question's over, but I find when I was young, this was the hardest thing to audition for, are these two-liners, these one-liners, these three-liners, because it's like, look out, Batman, could be said so many times, but even that is more fun than like, here's your water, sir, which is a lot of times what it is. So any tips? Is less more? Is more less? What would you suggest for those trying to break out? I feel like we could take it with maybe Angela, Millie. You guys have any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the actor roles are tough. Sometimes you're getting one word, sometimes a few words. If you're lucky, one line, maybe maybe two. If the actor understands that if we're at the audition stage of seeing actors for a one-word sentence, that the role was written in for a reason, and it clearly hasn't been cut up until that point. So we're not going to invest the money and the time on a role, even if it's just a few words, for it just to be thrown away. It's there for a reason, so it's as important as any other role. So
Very good
approach
point.
it with the attitude that this role matters, even if it's yes, ma'am, or a simple, or just a yes or thank you. I love it when actors give me a little extra at the beginning and a little extra at the end, because I always tell them that, remember, every scene comes from somewhere and it always goes somewhere. Don't just do your slate and just say thank you and that's it. Think about the scene, try to look at the page numbers, see where it kind of falls in the show. Maybe you're right in the middle and you're lucky enough to see some of the other sides to give you some intel on more of the script. Read the synopsis, read the other character descriptions, try to find a home for this actor and see how that role, and try to see where it kind of falls in the overall ensemble of casting. And have fun with it, and make sure that you approach it with as much professionalism as you would with a principal role.
That's wow, well said, Angela.
Beautifully stated.
Very well said. Yes,
Oh, thank
I
you.
agree.
Because I
Very
cast
well
a lot of those. So they matter a lot to me, the smaller actor roles. And then I see those actors continuing to audition, learning a lot, and becoming booked for, they start getting booked for principal roles, and they kind of go up from there. Yeah.
Yeah,
I really like the way she said, find a home for the role. Like, where do you fit within the story? Like, what is your purpose? And because they all do, as she said, if they didn't have a purpose, they wouldn't be there, so that's cool. I like
the
thing
that you
about saving money. So if it's there, it matters. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that little bit that you mentioned about the moment before, the moment after, the little button. What are you guys' thoughts on the buttons? Like, I know I tend to be a sucker for a good button. Do you guys hate them? Do you love them? Are they okay? Indifferent to them? I mean, I think maybe for the actor role, it's a great place to shine a little bit more where they might not. Sometimes it gets written in, you never know.
Well, you mean like a little bit of an improv? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like not a whole sentence, but it's just like, like, well, that's all, folks. I think she likes me. And then walk, something like that.
I think it's nice. I think it gets you into a scene as opposed to just coming in on a line. And at the same time, I wouldn't do too much, because oftentimes the directors can also be the writers, and they like to hear their material. And some people can take it a little too far.
Yes.
I'll swear.
I also don't like the button. I don't think the button has to be words. I think it can be a moment. It can be a reaction. It can be like the fact that you thought about how you were going to start the scene, and you thought about how you were going to end the scene. Yeah. And also thinking about the fact that even though, like, again, when you're shooting that scene, especially for the smaller, the actor roles, the 5 lines or less, those scenes where you might not, the camera might not be on you, but for the purpose of this audition, you want to make sure we see you to the end.
Yeah. Because the character lives before their line and after before the scene and after the scene. And if the actor can integrate that into the audition, it becomes that much more exciting and interesting and engaging for everybody to watch.
Mm-hmm. Well said. Well said. Thank you for that question, Darius. A couple more questions. Wow, where's the time gone? It's already been an hour and a half. I'm so sorry. You guys are probably hungry. We're gonna wrap it up soon. I'll ask maybe 2 or 3 more questions, and then we'll call it. Does that sound good for you guys? Anyone got a date tonight or dinner plans? No? Date with a casting session?
Children to tuck in. That's it.
Children to tuck in. Yes. Yes. I have dogs to poop. Here we go. So another question from, let's see, we're going to go with Sabrina. Sabrina Knapket. Knapet. I dyslexia. Knappet. How would you guys say that? Knapet. Yeah, duh. Hi there. Thank you for doing this session with us. For actors that have done indie films, short and features, and are now being submitted for larger projects by their agent. Good question. What is the likelihood that you'll bring someone you haven't seen before? So maybe like, what's a ratio of a new actor you'd see versus, let's say you're casting for a role and you could bring in 20 people. How many people of those would be new talent that you haven't seen? Again, depending on the part.
These days, with the, being able to do self-tapes and stuff, and it depends on what you're casting for. We did the series Transplant for 4 seasons. Was it 4 seasons?
Yeah.
And every episode was anywhere from 20 to 30 odd characters. And when you have 2 episodes per block, and a lot of those characters are smaller parts, there's a lot of roles. So we're gonna absolutely see a lot more people because you have to fill a lot of roles.
I think he's talking about like going from smaller roles to larger roles. What are the chances that you're going to
I'm sorry,
more experienced actors or less?
Well, that was part of it too, Randy. But yeah, that more so. I think she was asking more so. Yeah, like how likely are you going to like maybe upgrade an actor who's mostly been seen for the smaller parts and then are looking to get seen for the larger roles?
You get to know them, yeah. And if you're continuing to bring them in, obviously you like them, and I'm sure you're seeing them for larger roles at the same time.
I don't think when we're looking at who to bring in for whatever role, large, small, whatever, it's based on the role. And it's not about like we don't look at the actors and go, oh well, they don't have enough, and I'm only going to bring in unless we are limited in saying, okay, we can only bring in 8 or 10 people. We're gonna lean towards the people that we know better or that we know have a body of work. But I think at one point, if it's it depends on the character itself, and sometimes you'll try, and I don't think it's ever based on numbers. Mind you, if I have like 20 inexperienced actors that were submitted, and no really experienced actors, we will bring in about 15 inexperienced actors. But
right.
But like it really is we never approach it in such a way that it's like, oh well, they don't have a CV and I'll only see 3 of those. 2 of those, 2 from column A and 3 from column B. No, it's the essence of the actor. It's what we've seen them, how they're improving or what they're doing and what they can bring. Your own essences are very critical to us as well. So
great.
Ilona, any thoughts on that? Or?
I totally agree. Like, I'm always excited to see someone new. Would I bring them in a room with a client? Like I said earlier, probably not, but we're in the age of self-tape. So 100% I would see them. And I love it when actors, take their time and do indies and shorts, features and things and all this stuff on the side. That's great. It's a great way to get started. And, to meet people who are interested in the same thing will give you great advice. So, keep that up. And I would not see someone because of that, I'm all for it.
I agree.
Thank you for that question. We'll go to 2 more, guys, and we go and call it. This is a good one from Lisa Cleo. It's an interesting one, I thought, when I was in my youthful days as an actor and spry and excited. It was yesterday. Just kidding. Is it a red flag that there are a lot of actor roles on your resume? Does that look like you're only good at the actor roles? Of course not. Guys, want to just add to that?
It doesn't. And I get excited
Not
when
at all.
you're giving them the opportunity to get a larger role and when they get cast.
Yeah.
A lot of times too, like again, we'll audit classes and I'll bring people in for 1-line roles and turn to the director and say, listen, I know they can, and it's exciting, right? So congrats, you're booking.
Yes, work begets work, and why would you not want work, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Millie?
Yeah, I was just gonna say. Also, there are no small roles. I mean, again, actor roles. Just because you didn't have that many lines doesn't mean you didn't. Like, you could have had 20 days.
Oh yeah.
And it's so different. Like you could have gained the experience, and just because it didn't show that many, again, how many times are there like supporting leads where they had only 2 scenes? So again, there are no small. I don't think there are small roles.
Inspo story, a colleague of mine from years ago, when we went back to Humber College and acting school, his first role was, I think, an actor role in a show called 13 that I was also on. It was an actor role, and he ended up being on like 7 episodes of the show, and he got a character name, and he may have said maybe 2 things that whole show, but his name was on IMDb as a recurring 7-episode character. So, you know, perception is key, you know, at the end of the day, and also he got paid a lot of money. He was an actor. Why not?
And he watched the film, the making of that for that long, and
Yes.
learned so much and got to know all the crew people and the production.
Set experience.
Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. Here's a great one to end on, guys. I think it's a really sweet question from Anna Villeneuve. What do you find most? Sorry.
Said, oh, hi, Anna.
Oh, she knows. You know her. Shout out to Anna. What do you find most rewarding about the work you do? Do you have a favorite moment or highlight of your career that you'd like to share? Thanks for the Q&A. Emoji of a heart circling another heart. That's pink.
Bring on the circle. I love this. My favorite is just watching actors who I've seen audition, get a role. Like just seeing that feeling of watching a character fit perfectly into exactly what we'd envisioned, and just, or create a whole character that we're like, that's even better than I thought it could be. Just those moments and those old in the room feelings where like it's chills and everything. I just love those incredible moments where an actor just fills that character so perfectly.
Andrea?
Yeah, I mean,
Angela?
Oh, go ahead.
I was close. I was going to pick one of you guys, so
it's okay.
Angela jumped in.
Well, for me, it's just being part of the process of every actor's journey, and just being able to play a small role in their careers, especially early on. And it's lovely to see people in retirement age coming to a workshop and saying that I'm retired now. I've always wanted to give this a shot. I thought I'd take a stab at it. They take some classes, they're auditioning, they get a role, and they feel like their life has been reignited and has started all over again at 60 plus years. Wow. And it's just nice to be a part of the journey and the process for actors starting at any age, really.
Millie?
Yeah, I would say for me, just again, watching performers create and tell a story, that to me is, there are times where I'm like, oh yeah, I know that this is going to be this way. And then all of a sudden a performer comes in and just gives me an entirely different interpretation. And you're like, wow, I could not have imagined that. And that's incredible. Like, again, seeing the work, and to go back to what Ilona said about, when you watch an actor who you've been like championing and just watching them grow and watching them do their work, that's incredible to me. I remember I was, again, that's the one thing too, casting directors, we kind of do speak to each other. And I was at a casting session with another casting director in another session room. And he was like, I need to find this specific actor. This age group, this spec. And I was like, oh, well, have you seen this actor? Mm-hmm. And he was like, no, that actor can't act. And I was like, no. Have you seen them? When's the last time you saw them? Yeah. And he was like, no, like 6 months ago. And I went, no, you need to go back. You need to bring them in. You need to see they have been working their craft hard, 5 days a week in a class. They're coaching every single audition, every single self-tape. I said, go back. Now they can't stop hiring. The one casting director that said they can't act, now they're like, they hire them for everything.
Wow.
For everything. I was just like, dude, again, and that's the one thing, right? Again, casting directors have one idea of somebody, and then you go, oh wait, we haven't seen them again, and then to watch them come back. And it's funny because that actor thanked that casting director and went, I really want to thank you for your support, and and they were like, oh my God, you have come so far. They never told them that they said that, but they were like, you've come so far. And I haven't said that to story. I haven't told that story.
So with that actor, you know who you are. You owe Millie Thom 2% of your income. At the very least, residual pay if you're getting it. Randi and Andrea, you guys want to take it away for your final thoughts on your favorite things about being a casting director?
Andrea, you have my time.
I would honestly, I think it's just that creative collaboration. Like there's times when you just connect with a director or producer and you're able to just, when you've managed to make a contribution somehow, and I'm not just saying, like obviously there is a point where, the decision is up to the director or producer, but when you know that you've contributed, when you've done something like Millie did and said, no, look again, or, or they say, no, I'm not going to bring them into callback, and you go, I'm throwing them in. That person gets hired, and then they get the award, and then they get, or another casting director calls you and says, hey, do you know anybody that would be in and then all of a sudden one name, and you're like, yeah, that's the person, So those are that side of the collaboration. It just feels like you're contributing to it. And then, as we've heard before, the flip side, which is the collaboration with the actor, the ability to communicate and share what you know about the material or the creators or whatever, and help to guide them towards a performance that does get them hired, or at least gives them a really, really good chance at it. Like that's fun. So that is why we kind of do miss a little bit of that, in the room. But I mean, we can still guide, we can take from the materials that we see and we can guide them towards the role anyway. So it's all collaboration, and those are the good moments for all of us, I think. That's what I'm hearing from everybody. It's like we really do get off on that.
Randi, you want to add on to that?
I think we should leave it right there.
To get off? Yeah, I think it's a great way to end that. It's fine. This is online.
I don't think I could beat that.
Oh, geez.
Might have just done that.
Oh my god. All right, guys, I'll also say I need you actors who are listening as well to know that it is not your job to be complacent. Do not sit around and wait for the casting directors to call you. Go out there, take the acting classes, go out there and work. You are making 75% of your commission because you need to be putting at the very least 75% of the work. The agent only takes a portion of that. I'm going to give you a little story that I will love to share. My dog just bit my other dog. Sorry for that. I wasn't seeing certain casting director for a long period of time. And I do not suggest you guys do this because I have a relationship with this casting director who, this person has seen me numerous amount of times. And I asked my agent, I haven't seen this one. I haven't seen this casting director. What can I do? What can I do? Oh, just keep submitting stuff and keep doing things. And I took it upon myself because I had this relationship. Guys, don't do this. I'm giving you inspiration stories. I messaged this casting director on Facebook because I had just done a large project. I said, hey, I had just done this project. Please take a look at it. What do you guys think? Here's my demo. And from that, I booked a feature film horror, and that feature film horror turned into that. So don't be complacent. Otherwise, it's moonshine, Randi.
Okay.
Don't be complacent. Don't sit on your butts. Get up and work. Put your stuff on social media. Put your stuff on the stage. Invite casting directors if they have the time to come. A lot of them, I know Jason Knight says he likes to come to things. All casting directors like to see your work. Case in point, Millie, championing someone who another casting director had a bad perception of. So, ladies, it was an absolute pleasure to have all of you guys take up your day and your time to be with us today on Entertainment 411. You guys have been super insightful. Not just for the audience watching, but selfishly for me, it's been super insightful. Your success stories are inspiring, and it gives me a lot of hope in our industry. It's always nice to see the face behind the little casting director name that we see and actually see the personality behind it, because you guys are people as well. You guys have feelings and children to feed. So, you guys have been wonderful. I want to thank you guys for your time. I want to shout out quickly eBoss Canada for giving us this platform. Entertainment 411. We'll be doing these interviews all the time. I think next Tuesday might be another round. We're hoping to do them every week, but I think we might run out of casting directors. So it'll be producers. It'll be other actors. It'll be other entertainment.
There's also going to be the French version too. So stand by for
the French version too. Sarah's not even moving her mouth when she's talking. It's so impressive. French version too. Make sure you guys tune in.
I may add, it was such a pleasure to listen to all you ladies, your experience. I could hear the passion, and I feel like I'm speaking to everybody watching right now who is trying to get into it. This was so informative. Thank you for giving. Thank you for being so generous with your time and your information, because this information is not, it's not as obvious for us that don't know. So I truly appreciate you guys answering and doing this Q&A.
Make sure you guys follow eBoss Canada on all social media. This is going to be recorded. You're going to be able to watch it back on Instagram, on Facebook, on MySpace if you still have it. I don't suggest you watch it on there. It might be really bad. If you guys have any sponsorshipping or want to do any advertising on this, please write to entertainment411@ebos.com. Ladies and gentlemen, that is our time today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Once again, a quick little round of applause for our casting directors who have tuned in with us. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
It was a
ladies.
pleasure. And everyone, have a good night. Go get something to eat. Bye-bye.
Bye. 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 Bye.